Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Welcome back to the House of Hughes, specifically the 1980s edition. I am here in the Houselights trailer, mansion. Let's call it the Houselights mansion because we got all these different houses in it and everything like that. Exploring the works of John Hughes in the 1980s, and joining me on this journey as we get ready to go into Hughes's second film to be in the National Film Registry, marked for preservation for its cultural impact. Joining me are my good friends who are going to tear about Chicago in this stylish Ferrari. Dr. Sci-Fi himself, Darren Moser. Darren, are you ready to tear through the city to the Star Wars soundtrack? Because you know that's what we would do if we were making that leap, right?
I mean, Tristan just kept calling me, and I knew I needed to do this podcast. And okay, fine. Okay, I'll do it. No, I'm very excited for this. I'm very excited to talk about Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And yeah, man, it's almost like, are we ever going to get a show that's not about Chicago from John Hughes? I don't, because so far, every single one has been located in that city.
I don't know. I mean, what we can do is we can reach out to our own sausage king of Chicago, Tristan Riddell. How are you today? Are you excited to join Ferris on his day off here as he explores Chicago in a love letter to a city that's known for more than just crime or Batman?
How does that phrase go? What does he say? Are you presuming I'm not who I say I am? Or
yes,
yeah, that's pretty much it.
That for some reason that scene is very much in my head. Like the sausage king of Chicago is like, that's me. I'm Abe Froman. Just the way how you see alters his voice is friggin' hilarious.
Yes.
No, I'm very excited to talk about this one. This one is, like you said, I mean, it's preserved for a reason. And this is, I know that we usually start with like, hey, where'd you first see this? Or where did you, experience this? I have no idea. This has just always been there. Yep. This is one of those movies that it's just always been in the background. It's always been in my memory. And I remember owning the VHS of this one. Like I specifically owned the VHS. This wasn't taped off a TV. I didn't go get it from the library. Like I owned it. No idea how it came about. Had no idea how it was in the in the house, but we had it, and I watched it a lot. And this movie tickled my funny bone as a child, and it still did in preparation for this podcast.
And a lot of people's careers have defining moments in this film. There are so many weird casting notes and everything that we can get into, but we'll get into them after we tell you where you can find us online. Darren, where can people find you out there on the wilds of the internet?
They can go to drscifi.com, DRSCIFI, to check out my social links, as well as the frantic work pace I'm trying to make to finish my projects before celebration.
There you go. And Tristan, where can people find you?
You can find me at The Insane Robin on Twitter and Letterboxd, and you can also find me on this network. You can go to thenerdparty.com and click the hosts, and you'll see all of the other people on our network, and you can find my beautiful picture, and then click me, and you can find all the shows that I've been a part of, and I'm proud of every single one of them.
And just do a web search for Kessel Junkie, and you'll find me, and have a blast. Or not. I don't know. Maybe you will. Let's have fun together, much like everybody had with Ferris Bueller's Day Off, a 1986 film that, to Tristan's point, I know I can't think of a time where I didn't know of this movie. Like it is one of those things that's just in your brain and you don't remember. I know it would have been television. I wouldn't have seen this in the movie theater. And somebody, some friend, some relative played it on TV with a VHS tape, and there you go. But Darren, can you recall, or is this similar?
I think I actually can. I was trying to remember, because I totally remembered we have this kind of question at the beginning of every episode, and and I'm thinking back to, I think this was a camp movie for me. So in high school age, I would work at a summer camp up in the coastal redwoods of California for many summers, and I know for sure this is where I saw Princess Bride for the first time. And I'm pretty sure also, so it's kind of one of those not that we're like sheltered, but just like, oh, hey, it's late night on a Friday night, and you're not in the shift where you're covering, watching the kids, and we all go into the conference room and we have roll out the TV on the cart, just like you had, in your classroom, and we'd have movie nights. And so I've seen a lot of movies like that. And that was always a great experience because you're surrounded by, your peers, your own age bracket. And there's always some of those people that have seen the movie and are hyping it up. And then for everyone, it's their first time. It's a magical thing, like seeing it in the theater with people who really appreciate what you're about to see. And so I think that was Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And it's almost like you can't not like it when you're in that kind of experience where, it's not that you're not going to get that watching on television, but you're not with an audience when you're watching it on television.
Yeah.
So when you're surrounded by people who are just ready to have a day off, it's even better.
When you said it was a camp movie, I didn't understand that you meant like
actually watched it at summer camp. Yeah.
I was just kind of like, wait, like Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, like that kind of camp movie?
No. Like I literally watched it at summer camp.
Movie, or is that a drag? Anyway,
campy.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. Ferris Bueller's Day Off is a movie where this becomes a very interesting thing because for this rewatch, I actually showed it to my oldest, who is a teenager herself now, and it was interesting because this is one of the ones where I start to get that worry that maybe we're hitting the
that she's going to steal your Ferrari and go out on a joyride?
If I had a Ferrari, do you think I'd be spending my time podcasting and not tearing around town? Please.
Hurtful.
Hey, man. Oh, listen, you know what? I would podcast from the Ferrari.
Lego Ferrari.
Okay, all right.
How about that?
I'll
a
take
Lego
that
Ferrari.
If I could afford a Ferrari, I could afford the data plan that would permit me to podcast while I drove. How about that? No, I'm curious because on this rewatch with her, I started to feel that concern of, oh no, is this one starting to age out of the zeitgeist sort of thing? So I'll ask you first, Tristan. Do you see this as remaining its perennial favorite, or do you think that this is one of those ones where, thank goodness, it's marked in the National Film Registry because it's been on the shelf for a while and maybe modern audiences aren't relating to it as well as we did?
No, I think this one holds up. I think I've said this before, like when I said it a little bit with Weird Science about how they kind of captured the stupidity and horniness of idiot teenagers in Weird Science, where that'll never go out of style. I mean, in the times of Jesus and in thousands of years in the future, it'll always remain the same. But with this one, I think just like being goofy, wanting to take time off, wanting to have a day off, wanting to ditch school, just be with your best friend and your girlfriend. I mean, I had, growing up, I had I had a strong relationship with my best friend and his girlfriend. Like the three of us did everything together. And whenever I watch this movie, I think about those times. And I feel like, not to overuse the term, but there is a universality to it of, we all have that kind of sister. We all have that kind of best friend, or at least we all know that type of sister. We know that type of friend, and I think Ferris is unique. I don't think anybody really. I've never known anybody like Ferris, and I feel like he's a combination of some of the cool kids that some of the daring kids that some of the freaks and the geeks and the spazoids and the heads and the whatever she said. But I just feel like there's so many aspects to it where it's just, when you boil it down, it's three kids skipping school and having fun in a major city and trying not to get caught. That's so basic in its premise that it's never going to go out of style. And the humor isn't based in any kind of pop culture or current references. Like I can't really think of anything other than the lack of technology, or the lack of technology that we're used to, and even that, it doesn't really impact it too terribly much, because like the computer stuff is basic, but not like crazy. It's not like crazy and weird science, and it's not like cell phones would have helped or hindered them in any kind of way. So yeah, it's a long story short. I think it's this movie won't go out of style because it's so basic in its premise.
All right, Darren, same question to you, but also tacked on to that. Where do you see yourself in these characters? Like who's the character that hits you and you say, I understand, whether it's the parking garage attendant, or whether it's Rooney himself, where do you see yourself here in these characters?
Oh man, that's because it's not actually that big of a cast, really. It's a very tight-knit group. But no, to answer the first point though, I totally agree with Tristan. It's not only a recognizable type of story, but they even say it straight to the camera. We get a lot of fourth wall breaks in this movie, but where he says, it's like the last week of school. Like there's a month left or whatever. There's like a couple of weeks at most left of our senior year. After this, I'm going to go to this school. You're going to go to this school. Like this moment of our friendship is almost at an end, and we realize it. So why not carpe diem, seize the day and have a day out? And that's the main core of this story, is this moment that we have to seize. So I agree. I don't think that's going to go out of style as long as there is high school. And I think that's going to be around for a while. But as far as character, maybe homeschooler's day off and they try to sneak out from their parents.
Yeah. See, I think it's possible that my kid might just be a little bit too much like Cameron, and so found a little less humor. But she laughed through the whole thing,
right?
And got there. She maybe just is a little bit too serious in her outlook, which I consider a personal failing, because I don't know how you could be related to me and be serious, because good Lord, I'm yeesh. Anyway, I found going through it that it's still just legitimately funny, specifically because they set up such a great antagonist with Rooney, where he is such a fantastic example of how, when you're a kid, you see all adults that are trying to bust you for something, that they're just these obsessives who they are just mean and they're terrible in their calling, and they're these people that just can't let it go, can't just let you have a good time, and they're sticks in the mud. And if anything, Rooney's a comedic carry forward of what Ali Sheedy says in The Breakfast Club. When you get to be an adult, your heart dies. And what powers Rooney through the whole movie is, what does it cost him? Like, he's projected this huge cause onto Ferris about having to stop Ferris. Otherwise, he's going to have a school full of Ferris. He has to make an example of Ferris. And I think at its core, I've always loved that specific character, because he gets so many of the best comedic moments. And Darren, before we started, that moment where Ferris Bueller's on line 2, that music hit is perfect. His facial expression is perfect. And just the way that it keeps going, and you see it.
And he stares at the light blinking, and he's like, I have to answer, but this is going to be the worst phone conversation of my entire life.
And then they do the double reverse, and you see that it's Cameron, and it's like, it's so perfect. It's so perfectly done.
Cameron's voice. I love Cameron's voice in that.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just he's like, we've been kind of a shock, it's just like that, very, like, he's trying to do that hoity-toity.
It makes me think of that scene in The Office where Dwight and Jim are pretending to be like the customer and the representative, and where he's like, my name is Jim G. Buttlicker. It's like, and he's forced to say it. It's very similar in the beats.
My family built this country.
Yell it, say it louder.
It's so interesting to come back at it as an adult and see this movie and realize that Ferris is still us, even carried forward to adult. There's always a boss that we're trying to outwit. There's always a day off that we want, and we know. Carry it forward to the technological aspect, wanting to set the phone down and run out around town and just everybody leave me alone. I just want to go with the people I love, and I want to have I want to go to the ball game, or I want to go to the museum, or I want to go to the movies, what have you. But Tristan, I got to ask, one of the things that you rightly, I think, pointed out all the way back in 16 Candles, and we've talked about how the music got better as it went forward for Hughes. Do you think that Hughes finds the perfect use of music here in this movie? Are there any cues that you think don't work particularly well, or do you think that this is just all right?
I think the Star Wars theme was a bit much.
Oh, when they're ramping over the...
Disagree.
It's not, I don't have like a hard feeling towards it. Like I was trying to put myself in, when that popped up, I was just kind of like, oh, that's cheesy as hell. But then I started to remember that I was like, oh, this is only 4 years after Jedi.
Yeah, three years.
3 years after Jedi. That's right. So I tried to think of it that way. Like it felt cheesy to me, a little overdone. But it wasn't. It didn't like ruin anything for me. It didn't take me out of it. But I think in this movie, Hughes picked every song himself. Like it was, I don't think the supervisor, I don't want to downplay anybody's role, but I don't think the music supervisor picked the music. I think it was all Hughes who picked the music, which is really strange because if you look at all the previous stuff, you're just kind of like, oh, good Lord. Like, why would you play that here? But this one, I think, really hits the beats. I think with this one, you have so many different moments to play with that you have such great variety of moments, is what I should say. And during his adventures, that I don't want to say it was an easier job, but it allowed him to play a little bit more than his experimentation worked out with what he tried. I mean, like if you look at the museum scene and the music at the museum, that type of music isn't your first instinct if you think about the kids going to the art institute, but it plays off really well. Like you see, like Sloane and Ferris get together and their kind of romance bloom a little bit more. And you see Cameron, looking at the Surratt, and just like when you think about Ferris Bueller, you think about that moment of Cameron looking at the Surratt and zooming in. And of course you have the that's just absolutely synonymous with the film.
Oh yeah.
So I think it all works. And I think this is his best music selection. And I remember reading something where he said that he was very specific and he wanted to use works that not a lot of people knew. And not like as far as like Wes Anderson does, but like hits that weren't mainstream hits.
So Darren, also in terms of that music, same question about, do you think he hit it out of the park here? But additionally, do you think that there is a version of this movie that exists? We all know about how the process works, rough cuts and stuff like that. Can you imagine a version of this film without these music cues? Like, do you see any sort of lack of communication visually or script wise? Do you think that this movie falls apart without that added oomph?
Yeah, no, I think this selection is firing on all cylinders for this film. It's really well done. I mean, just like Tristan said, saying like like we all instantly know, like it has a visceral feeling. That's the sound, of like fast cars and driving where you want, like that. It all comes together, and I feel the music specifically. It's not like all of these songs. Some of the songs are literally in the movie, like when they're singing Twist and Shout and things like that, or Ferris is singing them himself. But the way he chooses this selection, it almost is like a portion of the fourth wall break. It's very visceral. It's very connected with the points he's trying to kind of push out into the audience, because that's done way more in this movie, at least the fourth wall breaking, than any of his other previous works. And I feel like the music is in addition to that. It's like, look here, pay attention, feel this way in this moment. And and sometimes Ferris is looking right at you when that's happening. Like, you're almost trying to wrap your mind around what's going on in his mind at this moment.
It's I mean, I agree about the music. Oh yeah, like I've heard it used in other places, and what I actually wind up thinking of is, yes, it's used a couple of times throughout the movie, but I think specifically of the end credits where Rooney gets on the school bus. That is
yes,
that is one of my favorite cinematic moments, and what a wonderful case of not being able to fit it in the film and saying this is just too good to let go. We
those are
have
great
to have
credits.
This. Yeah.
Like it would be terrible if it just ended and you didn't have that coda or whatever you want to call it of him, no shoes, mud soaked, split pants, being picked up by a school bus. It's like, oh my gosh, it's so humiliating.
Well, I even love the way Jones initially plays it, where she slows down and says, "Do you need a ride?" He's waving his hand. He's like, "No, shut up, just keep going. Don't slow down." And then he just defeated. He just realizes this is the final humiliation he's going to suffer today. He has completely lost everything. I'm a big fan of not stingers in the Marvel sense, but. Something where it's like, okay, give me a reason to watch the credits. But at the same time, I go all the way back because I'm the old man of the group to seeing on VHS like Cannonball Run, where they would have the outtakes in the credits. It was a great way to get you to stay and watch. But in terms of the edit, right, that's a scene that didn't fit in there. This is his first time, I think it's his first time, working with Paul Hirsch, legendary film editor who worked on Carrie and Star Wars and the original Star Wars trilogy and all of these sorts of things. And we know that he wrote the script in a week. And then they found it in the edit, though.
That's right.
Because the museum scene originally occurred after the parade. So, Darren, I'll kick it back to you first.
Yeah.
Do you think that we see evidence here of a strong editor sitting in the bay and saying, "No, trust me, I can get this to work for you"?
Where's the story?
Right.
No, and I really wanted to talk about this because for the first time when I watched it this time, I started to feel a little bit of disjointedness in the story, not really in a negative way, but it kind of started to click to me of, well, it's just a bunch of kind of random things that just happen. Like, is there actually a through line? Like, I mean, obviously there is in the plot, but in a way, the middle of the story, once they're out and about, it's very much like, and now they're at the museum, and now they're at the ballpark, and now they're at I started to feel that a little bit like, okay, it was almost like, what can we throw at the wall and see if it sticks? And I think they pulled it off, like you said, in the edit, but it made me pause for a moment thinking, I wonder how this was written. Was this written like this specifically? Or like you mentioned, was it found? And from a little bit of the behind the scenes I've read, I think they purposely did try to shoot parts in whole segments so they could have the ability to, that was the other part, is that it's one day. So they're all wearing the same clothes throughout the entire day. So it's not like, on the second day out, or later in the day, they're wearing this. So, and that's at the restaurant. So we can't use that because it couldn't have happened before this. They didn't have that constraint because they could weave the story they found. And I think they found a great story, but yeah, that's a point I definitely wanted to touch on because it started to feel like I was pondering, where did this story come from? Was it in this order or was it a found story? And maybe it was found.
So Tristan, do you think that is just an elegant argument for having as few costume changes as possible in a film? So that you can do as much in the editing bay as possible?
It definitely helps when you don't have to worry about continuity. I mean, that's a huge lifesaver when you can, from Hirsch's perspective, where you can reorganize scenes and you can reorganize shoots. I mean, there are, very rarely is a movie shot in sequence And this is one of those where it doesn't really matter if it's shot in sequence or not, because you can shuffle it around. And I think it shows. I think it's something that I've, like when I, worked in film just a little bit, and I went to film school, worked in film a little bit, and then moved on to marketing and video production. But what I've seen in my experience, often with amateur directors or immature directors, is they don't trust their editor. They just see the editor as someone who can work the computer. And that is a huge, huge mistake, because the editor should be your partner. The editor saves your ass from a lot of horrible mistakes and a lot of things that you think would going to work, because a director, especially if there's some sort of auteur, they have this idea in their head of how it's supposed to go. They have an idea of just like, this is the movie I want to make, and this is the movie on how it should go. But then when you get it in the edit, you're like, it's not working, because this timeline isn't, the audience doesn't exist in the director's head. And so you have to, a film has to be malleable, in my opinion, and in order to find what works. I mean, I think the first cut, which could have been an assembly cut of this, was rumored to be 2 hours and 45 minutes long.
Yeah.
Obviously there's no way
that's keeping everything in, every gag, every location.
Right. I mean, that's the type of information the internet goes on and says, oh my God, why would they think that's ever worked?
Release the Hughes cut.
That's right.
Hashtag Ferris, save Ferris,
But I don't really want to watch a movie that long. That's this plot.
Nobody wants to watch a comedy that's almost 3 hours. I think it's Barry Sonnenfeld went on record as keep it fast. Like that.
Yeah, this isn't an
rule of comedy. Yeah, right. No, but seriously, that's the rule of comedy: is you got to get people out, and you never do it more than 3 times. Period. That's it. That's drama too. Never do it more than 3 times.
And so with that, I think this movie is very well edited, because there are several found moments. I mean, there were several found moments on. I almost said on stage, but on set with people doing improv and just kind of figuring out what works. But then, that improvisation really happens in the edit bay too, where you find the movie, like the Jeannie kicking Ed 3 times.
Yeah.
She only kicked him once on set, but they found a way to make it 3 times in the edit. And then also, I think just little things like the kiss between Ferris and Sloane in front of the high school was supposed to just be a quick peck, but in the edit bay they made it look like a super long kiss where Rooney goes, ugh.
That's how their family is.
So that's how that is in their family. Yeah. Which is, but then the ickiness of that joke gets completely undercut by the fact that they then tear out of the lot, and it's, and you see Rooney's reaction of, I got fooled. But I have no evidence. All of my evidence just drove out of the lot right here.
And Ferris saying, "Do you have a kiss for Daddy?" Is on repeat in my head. I don't know why.
I still love when Ferris is kicking Cameron and he's like, "Why'd you kick me? Where's your brain? Why'd you kick me? Where's your brain?" Because it takes a moment to think. What is he saying? Oh, it's like you're thinking out of your.
I do want to comment on something. So, Darren, I want to talk about something that you brought up, where you said they're just kind of throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. I had almost the opposite reaction when watching this, where I was getting impatient was with Jeannie and Rooney's scenes.
I want to cut back to Ferris and seeing what he's doing.
Yeah, I was, for the first time, I felt like, oh, we're with Ed too much. This is too much Ed. And this is, with Jeannie and Ed, I felt like, why do we have 2 antagonists? We need to, stay with me here. As I was watching this, I was just kind of like, why don't we, what's the deal with the sister and with the principal? Do we need to have one antagonist? Do we need to lessen Jeannie scenes? Do we need to lessen Rooney scenes? What do we do here? But then you wouldn't have that payoff at the end. And so I kept thinking, I was like, okay, does that end justify that? I don't know. I feel like if we just I just kept, while I was watching it, I just kept wanting to go back to Chicago.
I would offer that the specific scene where he's in the house and she's up, she's calling the cops, stuff like that, that needed to be tightened just a little bit.
Yeah,
bring that a little bit faster, a little bit quicker, maybe a little bit less with the dog.
I didn't even, I'm like, where did the dog come from? I don't remember there being a dog in the family. All of a sudden there's a dog.
Right. But even with that, the dog stuff is funny, but it's just a little bit too much.
Yes.
And it's
when he's checking out outside and he's being super extra creepy.
Right.
That goes
which is interesting because, we know that Hirsch he's gone through the school of De Palma and Lucas of the keep it fast, keep it quick, keep it, and he worked on these things. So it seems that's got to be a director saying, no, I want to keep this in.
I love this bit.
We
got to keep it all in.
Yeah. The editor losing. And, but I mean, maybe they thought it worked fine, but from what I understand, their bigger concern, probably, I would argue that probably those moments that needed to be tightened a little bit, and I think Jeannie in the police station needs to be tightened a little bit too. I think those things are a byproduct of them trying desperately to save the cut or save the movie as a whole, arguably, by figuring out why the museum scene wasn't working. Because that's your big thing. If that had never gotten fixed, the whole movie falls apart. And so probably they're so focused on why isn't the museum scene working? We love the museum scene. Why is this not a thing? And then they when they finally figure out to flip it, they're like, okay, good, great. Okay, let's box it up. Let's close it out. But I mean, that's supposition on my part, but that would make sense to me that there would be that sort of attrition. I don't know what the right word would be.
Well, answering your question, Tristan, about the two villains, I would almost say for me, it kind of felt like a tag team. Like kind of in the beginning, it's much more Rooney. And by the end, it's much more. I mean, the end sprint is literally him racing his sister home in a Phineas and Ferb. Cameron's going to tell on her brothers, that something's up. So yeah, I don't necessarily feel like there were one too many antagonists, but I think it was very relatable, though. The sister who feels like her brother always gets away with everything. I mean, that's very relatable to many people, as well as the, vice principal that always wants to catch you at something, and I mean, we all know Rooney's extra. I mean, no actual sane person is going to creep around your house.
Rooney is inspired by a real guy that was, I think, a vice principal in Hughes's one of Hughes's schools
in Chicago, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, but if I recall correctly, and somebody please look this up on Wikipedia because I'm pretty sure that's where I read it. Hughes took Jones to meet an old vice principal of his who carried a gun.
Yeah, he was carrying a gun. Yeah,
right,
on his person.
So I'm remembering the story correctly.
Yeah, I remember reading that. Yeah.
So Rooney's inspired by a real guy, and obviously, played up for a comedy sort of thing. I think that it's important to have the two antagonists because they're coming, like you said, Darren, from the two different angles.
Right. They're boxing Ferris in.
Well, Jeannie's the one kid who doesn't buy his BS, and Rooney is the adult who knows Ferris is gaming the system but can't prove it.
If they actually combine forces, they'd be unstoppable. But the problem is they never do.
Right. And that's sort of the interesting subplot is if either one of them reach out to each other, she would have helped Rooney nail Ferris well before this moment.
Yeah.
But Rooney never thinks he wants to be the hero, the private dick, the gumshoe who goes out and catches the guy, and that's why he gets that comedic moment where he flips up his sunglasses.
You sounded like Dirty Harry right then, didn't you?
Exactly. And it's Rooney just not realizing that he has allies that could help him make this happen for him.
I'm still thinking suspension of disbelief when Jeannie's driving her mom home and slams on the brakes, almost hits Ferris, and the mom doesn't look up for like 20 seconds, and I'm like, Mom, come on, like they're papers in your lap. Like, I mean, I get it.
Or the dad who can't recognize his own kid from the side.
Yeah. Well, he looked, and then when he looked back, it wasn't him anymore. It was her.
Right. Listen, for those of us who are commuting
the parents aren't running all cylinders. I'm just saying.
Look, I can tell you that for those of us who are commuting again, that you do enter a zone while you're driving where you're just trying to get home for the love of God. Why won't this person in front of me? That was an incredibly relatable scene with the old lady who was just weaving around. He's just sitting there. It's like, please, just get out of my way. Please, just get out of my way. So, you sort of enter a zone while you're driving home where it's wait, who, whatever. I don't
remember.
Apparently the mom and dad got married in real life after this movie.
Really? I didn't know that.
That's awesome.
It didn't work out because they got divorced in 92.
That's sad. That's terrible.
Well, but that's actually quite a few years. 86
to
to 92. That's a little bit of a stint.
Yeah,
At the end, they're like, wait, why did we get married in the first place? Oh, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I guess that should have been the sign.
Imagine that. We found the one couple that never wants to watch Ferris Bueller's Day Off again in their lives because they look at it and they go, oh no, she's in it or he's in it.
Is it because she lost the Vermont account? Is that why?
That's what broke it. That's what broke it. And that's what broke them. Wouldn't that be so interesting to have somebody write some sort of a fanfic about
memoir.
how it destroyed Ferris's family that she lost the Vermont account?
That was the snowball that ended their happy little lives. It's interesting when you guys were talking about, like, could this movie work nowadays, technology wise? Because again, it does feel very 80s. There's no cell phones, there's no, things like that. And I was like, no, I think actually it would, because I think you would only kind of tweak things a little bit. So instead of, like pushing the doorbell and triggering some sound, like it would actually forward it through like a website he set up and dial his cell phone or something like
Ring.
that.
It would go through
It'd
Ring.
be like a Ring doorbell. Exactly. And so, just the technology be slightly different, but you could play the same jokes pretty much straight for straight, and I think have the same thing. I also love the fact that Ferris, the lead character, doesn't have a car, is requiring his friend to come out.
Right.
Like, isn't, he's not he's the popular kid, but he doesn't have a car. His parents are kind of on him, and his sister,
but
all that.
$8,000 synthesizer.
That's true. Yeah, they got him. My parents got me a computer.
But I think it's interesting that the casting is so good for this movie because Anthony Michael Hall was the first actor that Hughes talked to about playing Ferris. And I'll kick it to you first, Tristan. Do you see this movie working with another actor than Matthew Broderick in that role?
Well, I thought I read that Anthony Michael Hall was given the choice of Cameron.
Oh no, no, he was offered the part because he was busy with other projects. He was offered the part of Ferris.
That's so weird because I could have
instead
sworn.
He did another film that he starred in. I think he was unavailable at the time. Same thing with Molly Ringwald. I think she wanted the role.
Yeah, she wanted Sloane.
And they're like, oh, it's not big enough. And I'm like, I think she would have been fine in it. I don't know what big enough meant, but
I was happy to not see the same people.
Yeah.
Oh no, I agree. I was happy not to see him either. But yeah, it's like, so far we've had the trilogy of Anthony Michael Hall, and then another day later he was done with school.
So according to this, what I'm reading in front of my face. Rob Lowe, John Cusack, Jim Carrey, Johnny Depp, Tom Cruise, Robert Downey Jr., and Michael J. Fox were all considered for the role of Ferris Bueller. I think I could see Michael J. Fox as Ferris. I don't think I could see anybody else. No, I can't see Cusack.
It's such a charisma thing. That's the trick. Like,
yeah.
I mean, again, not that they can't act charisma, but
I can see Fox because he has the charisma, but Fox's charisma, I think, is a little bit different because, and I forget what the exact quote is, but Ferris is supposed to be somebody that you could believe would either be president or like in prison or something, something
no
like
in between.
Yeah.
One or the other.
And maybe it's a result of the choices of his career or whatever, but I don't see Fox as ever having anything other than like a positive future. Like I can see a future where Ferris Bueller overplays his hand and things go horribly wrong for him. I don't see that with Fox. I do think that Ruck, I think that's the casting piece that is overlooked, because I think Broderick brings something, but I think that Ruck it's amazing to me that he was, I believe, 29 when they filmed this.
29. Yeah. He was 10 years older than everybody else.
He was 30 in 86. So yeah, he would have been 29.
I can't believe that. It's so freaky, but at the same time, I mean, Darren, do you think that's what helps him bring so much of that dour seriousness to
I already know life means nothing. It's like right. you get a job. It's all downhill. Maybe. Yeah, I read about Ruck and how he at first was concerned. He's like, well, I haven't been in high school in ages. Like I'm not going to relate. I'm not going to be in the know. And then he realized, well, when I was in high school, I wasn't in the know. I didn't know anything. I wasn't in the circles or the cliques or whatever. So I'll just play that and be the person who I have my friend and here we go.
And it works.
And it works. And he's got one of those, like, young faces that I never once doubted that he was a high schooler, obviously played by a slightly older person, but I wouldn't have guessed 30, looking at it. But yeah, Cameron's the diamond in the rough, because and isn't this so true with so many comedies? You have your comedy man, you need your straight man. Like your straight man has to be really strong or there's nothing to bounce off of. And and I totally believe that these guys, they have the chemistry, they have the friendship, they, because they're arguing with each other and they're bickering and they're, but I love the moment where, Ferris like actually apologizes to him and is like, I messed up and this is totally wrong. And then in the next scene, he's manipulating him again, but it feels like a friendship.
Next scene, almost like the next moment though.
Yeah,
I think that's the thing.
But you did wrong, so we need your car. It's like, okay.
Yeah. It's interesting because part of that also is that Ruck had auditioned for Bender in The Breakfast Club, and Hughes had remembered him. And I can't possibly imagine Ruck in The Breakfast Club as Bender. No. It just doesn't happen. There's no way.
But I can't imagine him not being Cameron. That's the thing. Right. So, never know what you're going to try for, because I'm sure that, like you just said it, him auditioning for that role, even though he didn't get it, basically secured him a job 2 years later.
And but that's one of those things too, where it really, I think that I'm gonna go ahead and say that Ferris Bueller's Day Off is the type of comedy that highlights how much the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences doesn't like comedy or appreciate what goes into it, because Ruck deserved some sort of nod for his role, because as great as Broderick is, as great as everybody else is, Jones and Ruck are necessary for this movie to work. And I don't know what the solution is there, but that's always been one of those things. I don't watch the Oscars. I haven't watched them in forever. Like everybody loves to always claim they don't watch the Oscars, but I wasn't watching the Oscars before it was cool not to watch the Oscars, kids. But like, I don't know what the solution is, because you look at a film like this and you say, in your heart of hearts, there's no way these actors are going to get that awards recognition that they deserve in that big, that big annual celebration. And it frustrates me. It really, really frustrates me, because a comedy role like Ruck's is even more difficult than certain dramatic roles that you see recognized.
But in a way, though, I would say that they do get the recognition in the grander scheme of culture and life. Like I can almost guarantee you, when people see Alan on the street, they're going to quote this movie. Like he totally realizes the impact this role had on everybody. And I
Sure.
mean, it's not a statue, but I bet you that makes him feel warmer than anything that could have been said at the Academy.
That's an excellent point. I see that point because I know that Broderick has talked about there's not a single day that goes by in his life where somebody doesn't see him on the street and reference Ferris Bueller. Like the incredible career that he's had over the years, and people still look at him and say, that's Ferris Bueller. Doesn't matter everything he's done after that. And he's done, quite a bit of things, including 1998's Godzilla, which we can all agree is terrible. But Tristan,
he's also done a lot of theater. I just want to chime in and say that he is great on stage, but continue.
No, that's very true. That's a great point. And, maybe you could always make the argument that actors with a lot of stage presence do really well, especially in screen comedies, because they understand the importance of timing in a way that a strict film actor doesn't always get, because they know they can be saved in the edit, sort of thing.
Did not know he was married to Sarah Jessica Parker since 97.
For a long time. Yeah, they've been together a long time. He was actually engaged to Jennifer Grey after this movie, because of this movie.
That's weird. Wouldn't that have been so weird if you saw Ferris and his sister married at some point? Thank goodness that didn't happen, because, oh my goodness gracious. But as sort of a final question, if you will, we've sung the praises, and Tristan, I'll kick it to you first here. And we talked about parts that can be tightened. Are there any parts that you think should have just been left on the cutting room floor entirely, where they just missed the mark and there's something extra that should have been left out? Or do you think they trimmed the fat from this effectively?
I think, like we talked about, some of it could be trimmed. And I think that's the main killer. If I had to cut something, I don't want to say no, because it's not perfect. If I had to cut something, I would cut them at the lake, after it was either before or after he had
it's after he snaps.
It's after he's it's is it before or after the pool? It's before the pool, right?
Before the pool.
Yeah, I think we could go straight to the pool from there. I don't think, but there is some interesting information there. I feel like that could have been combined in the pool scene, where Ferris could have talked to the camera during the pool scene of saying Jeannie's a junior, I'm a senior, we're going to go to different colleges and everything like that. That's interesting. But at the same time, I don't think we needed another location. They didn't need to be at the lake. But I feel like I'm nitpicking, really, because it's not like that scene lasted a long time. I feel like the freak out needed to be a little tighter. Again, I'm just saying tighter. I think this edit could be a little tighter, but that's mainly it.
Darren, same question to you. And in addition, I would like to get your read on how long it took you to realize there was an actual stinger after the credits. Was it something that you knew from your first viewing forward, or was it something you found later in life?
We watched the whole way through, and you kind of almost want to in the credits, because you have the closing coda of Rooney and the bus and all of that. And it's not too much longer. It's not, it's a full set of movie credits, but I don't know the exact time, but it doesn't feel like it's a huge amount of time to keep watching the rest of that. And the music's still playing, you're still jamming, and then you get the stinger at the end, which is just so random, but perfect and fitting for this movie. I would agree. Again, it's hard to really nail where to trim and where to, I don't fault them at all in the edit, because again, timing is everything in comedy, and having a scene run tiny bit too long, and maybe the lake is the only place that they said those specific lines, and so they kind of have to keep it because they gotta continue it on. And looking back, we totally would have moved those lines over here, but we're in the edit now, so we got to make that work. So but overall, it's a fairly tight story. It's interesting because once you actually look at it, you're like, man, Ferris doesn't leave his house for a long time It's quite a bit, but I never feel like we're stuck there. Like it feels like the story is still moving and the plot is still engaging, and we're learning about Rudy and we're learning about all the people who know Ferris. Like everybody knows Ferris, and that becomes like the running gag. So it would be, I'm really curious though to watch this at some point, either with my kids or with someone who just hasn't seen it, and try to get that vibe of what do you expect this story to be? Because like you guys both said at the very beginning, it's hard for us to remember a time where we didn't have Ferris Bueller's Day Off in our minds. Like it's almost interchangeable with just this story and all of that. So I'd be curious to pick someone's brain and be like, what do you, from what you gleaned from life and from hearing about this film, what would you expect this movie to be? Because I could probably guarantee it's not what they actually get, which isn't a bad thing. But
yeah, it's interesting you hit on how long it took Ferris to leave his house, because I do think that we've already made reference a couple of times to if this were made in the modern day, technology, all that sort of thing.
Just get an Uber.
Well, yeah, I think that in the modern day, there isn't the patience to have him relaying that information to us at his house.
Oh no.
They're at the action way faster than that.
Yeah.
And I think the movie
it's his day off.
suffer.
Why is he still at his house? It's
right.
like, that's literally the title of the movie.
But also, like, that's the thing is that, like, as I'm watching this, like, you do have to have some suspension of disbelief when it comes to timing, because, like, of all the things he does, and if he lives in the burbs and then goes to downtown, and like even just finding a garage, it's just all that stuff where you're just like, oh my god, like it'd be 2 p.m. by the time they got down there. It's just, there's, if he didn't leave right away, like you got to think about rush hour, like.
Well, never mind the fact that how lucky he is that Abe Froman didn't show up for his reservation.
That's true. That's true.
That's a very good thing. So, I mean, honestly, here we are. We've talked about our loves. We've talked about the little nitpicking things that we would have. I'm dying to know, because I'm still like, exactly where does it end? Darren, I'll toss it to you first. What is your star rating out of the authoritative, never going to change, there is no reality in which we will ever increase to 6, 5-star rating scale? Where do you place Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Oh man, it's so hard to, like, I want to say 4.5, but I'm trying to decide, is that sliding more to a 4 or is it sliding more to a 5? Because it's really on the knife's edge, because it, for the rewatchability, I mean, this is the movie, like, we all talk about having seen it on TV, because if this is playing, when you channel surf, you stop and you watch the rest of the movie, because it's Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It doesn't matter where it is in the story. You want to finish it, even though you've seen it a dozen times before. And and again, I think it's we're not judging for, is this a perfect movie? Because I think that's very hard to say exists, and is always on a sliding scale, and is always like, this week it's perfect. And then I watch it a month from now and I'm like, boy, I hate teenagers this week. So I really am going to rank this lower for some reason. But
as a parent of teenagers,
now I hate teenagers right now.
There are weeks where this is a 1-star movie. Trust me.
Be like, oh man, if I find, I'm going to I'm not going to buy my kid a synthesizer. I'm going to tell you that. I'm not going to let them use that against me. But no, I'm going to tip it. I'm going to tip it up to 5. It's just such, I mean, it's in the National Archive, and it's such a fun movie. It's a fun, well done comedy. And those are actually really hard. It's hard to have laugh out loud moments. It's hard to have quotable moments. Like, I often judge how well I like a movie by how quotable it is. How much do I remember? And there's so many quotes. I mean, we couldn't even stop quoting as we're even prepping to record. We just start regurgitating them because they're so memorable and so connected with the story. So I'm going to give it a 5.
Tristan, I'm going to kick it over to you.
I've been struggling with this for so long, because I don't give 5 stars a lot. And there are things that I think could have been done better in this film. So I'm leaning towards 4.5. But like Darren was saying, there, it's very hard to say, like, is it a 5-star film because you can't think of that you would change anything? And that's usually been my rubric is, I'll give it 5 stars if I can't think of anything that needs to change. But maybe I need to change that because it depends on how I'm viewing it and when I'm viewing it. And because this movie is so freaking funny, and you laugh at it, 35 years later. Mm-hmm. And coming up on 36. And I think I'm going to have to give it 5 stars just because it's penetrated the zeitgeist so thoroughly, and it's so funny to this day. Like Matthew Broderick is perfect for this role. Like when we didn't talk about this, but when he's in bed pretending to be the perfect son, and just like the voice
Jeedy,
that he puts on,
Jeedy, I can hear you, but I can't. You have your health. Be grateful.
Yeah, like when he's like a little ringy dingy, it's just, and then like when he his dad touches him on the shoulder, and then he's like, and he pretends to eat his, it's just like little stuff like that is just so, it's so stupid, but geniusly funny because of how effective and little it is. I think
that's comedy acting.
It's comedy acting. It's filled with that. So yeah, I'm not going to overthink it. I'm just going to give it 5 stars.
I did not expect to give this the rating that I'm going to, but something that really tips it over, in addition to everything that you both have said, to where I'm going to place it, is that Richard Roper had a comment about it that I watched it through that lens this time, where he called it a suicide prevention film, where it seems that one of the missions, Ferris could have gone off and had a day off, but he brought Cameron along, and he brings Cameron along, you have to believe in some sense, and he even says something to the effect on the screen, Cameron needs this even more than Ferris does. Cameron needs to be shown that life is worth living, that regardless of what you need out there, regardless of whatever else, you got to get out there and you have to enjoy it. And I realized Cameron isn't just a character. Cameron is us. Cameron is the audience, in a sense. And Ferris is reaching out to the audience through this entire movie, saying, that trademark thing of life moves pretty fast. You have to enjoy, you have to make a point to enjoy it. You can't just sit back. You have to get out there. And so, yes, I'll give this a 5 as well, which is the first time I think I've hit that with this specific movie. But on top of what I just said, what you guys have said, there's also the fact that this was my first time watching it in a while, and I belly laughed through this movie. I belly laughed, like hard belly laughed through this movie, and I just love it. And I can't, are there technical things? Yeah, my brain says don't give it a 5, but my heart, I got to give it a 5. Whole was greater than sum of the parts. That's what counts.
Yeah. And you thought we wouldn't have any fun. Shame on you.
So last time we all had 5s was The Abyss. We all gave 5s for that movie.
That's amazing.
Hey. Yeah.
That's amazing.
And I mean, there's been a lot where it's been close, like 2 5s and a 4 and things like that. But yeah, I'm glad we won you over, John.
I think I doled them out pretty hard with Fincher.
Yeah, Fincher was solid.
I'm looking back in the past, and I'm like, man, Tristan says he never gives 5s. I'm like, I'm seeing a lot of 5s back in the beginning of this podcast.
Yeah. That's because, like, when we started this, it was like this was the House of Fincher. That was the original name of this show, and that's all that we were going to do. It was just Fincher, and they're like, oh no, we're going to keep going.
And I still have a poster from Girl with the Dragon Tattoo that Tristan sent me in celebration of the fact that I finally gave it a 5 after years of hating it. So there you go.
I forgot about that.
I mailed it. You can't see it on the camera,
to you
but
and didn't tell you it was coming.
Yeah. And as soon as I opened it, my wife can tell you that I went, you son of a gun. It's in a frame. It's right up there. So this sets us up for a really interesting conversation next time for Hughes's next film, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, starring Steve Martin and John Candy. Is it the ultimate Thanksgiving movie? Is it the only Thanksgiving movie that anybody wants to watch? We'll find out next time here on House of Hughes, part of the Houselights series.
Go home.
It's over.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.